Welcome to the deep dive. We take complex topics, cut through the noise, and really try to bring you the insights that matter. Today, we're plunging into a world that, well, for decades, it's been seen as slow, incredibly manual, and very much relationship-driven. I'm talking about the corporate bond issuance market. Just picture it, the painstaking human effort trying to interpret all this market data, the endless back-and-forth negotiations. And it all relies on these static snapshots of the market, right? Not continuous monitoring. It feels a bit like, I don't know, using an old paper map that's only updated once a week to navigate a crazy busy city.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good analogy. And that traditional way of doing things, I mean, it worked, but it often led to, let's say, suboptimal pricing. Bonds could end up being too cheap for the company issuing them or maybe too expensive for the investor. Lots of inefficiency there. And then there's just the time it took. Deals could drag on for days, sometimes even weeks, just to get executed. That obviously pushes up transaction costs too. It's a really high stakes game where every basis point that's, 1/100% really counts. But the old methods, they frequently left millions, literally millions, in value just sitting on the table.
Right. And what I find really fascinating here is how cutting-edge AI is coming in and just fundamentally reshaping this market, one that's been, frankly, pretty resistant to change. So our mission today is to unpack exactly how AI is making this massive leap happen. What does it mean for financial professionals, for you listening, and what are some of the surprising benefits that kind of ripple out through the whole market? Think of this as your shortcut to understanding a really complex, high-stakes area of finance. So yeah, let's unpack this AI revolution in bond issuance.
It's pretty interesting. There's a Canadian fintech called Overbond that's really emerged as a key player here. They've built this bond issuance automation platform that, well, it really is a game changer. It uses deep neural networks, combines that with real-time market data feeds, electronic order routing, and it manages to compress a process that used to take days or weeks down into sometimes just hours, even minutes in some cases. It's a huge shift in speed and capability.
Hours or minutes. That's
Yeah.
that's genuinely astonishing. Okay, so how does Overbond's AI actually do that? I really want to understand the mechanics here, sort of step by step.
Okay, so the first piece, the foundation really, is data. Because in this market, getting the right data and getting enough of it, that's always been a huge challenge for humans. Overbond tackles this by creating what they call a live data lake. And this isn't just a little bit of data, it's a continuous, massive flow of real-time info, structured and unstructured. They pull in super granular details from bond markets like yield curves, spreads, that extra bit of interest over a government bond trading volumes. They also integrate data from credit markets like CDS pricing, which is basically insurance against a company defaulting, and credit ratings. They even look at equity markets, scanning stock price movements as like sentiment signals. Then you layer on top all the macroeconomic stuff, interest rates, inflation, central bank announcements, even news feeds, press releases, analyst reports. The sheer scale and the real-time nature of this just gives insights that no human analyst could possibly keep up with manually.
Wow, that really paints a picture of the scale of information this AI is just constantly drinking in. So, okay, it has this massive data lake. What's the next step? How does it turn all that into a precise price prediction?
Right, that's where the AI-powered price prediction engine kicks in. Overbond's neural networks take all that live data and predict the optimal price and yield for a specific bond being issued. The models look at key inputs, things like comparable bonds from similar companies, how bonds are trading in the secondary market, signs of demand from institutional investors, and also crucial macro risk factors like volatility indexes, interest rate expectations, that sort of thing. The output from these models is really specific. A recommended spread over a benchmark, say, plus 120 basis points over the 10-year government bond, plus the optimal coupon rate, and even projections for the pricing curve. And because these models run continuously, they can spot these really narrow timing windows when the market appetite is strongest and borrowing costs are lowest.
You mentioned timing. How different is that from the old way deals were launched? What were the sort of practical downsides of that more static approach?
Well, in the past, timing was often based on, let's be honest, pretty rough forecasts and an underwriter's gut feel about market appetite. It was more art than science sometimes. But Overbond's AI, it takes timing optimization to a completely different level. It uses probabilistic forecasts to predict demand elasticity, basically, how much demand might change if you nudge the yield up or down. And critically, it monitors real-time volatility, what's happening in the secondary market second by second. It then alerts the issuer when that pricing window is most favorable. And this window might only be open for a few hours. It's about spotting these fleeting, multi-million-dollar opportunities that the traditional methods just couldn't even see, let alone act on.
Okay, so once that optimal price and timing are figured out, how does the AI then manage the execution, getting the deal actually done? That's where the orders start flying, right?
Exactly. This is the order routing and allocation automation part. This is where the deal gets done, but with incredible efficiency. It starts with something called electronic book building. The AI matches the issuer's target price and yield with the actual demand from investors. It does this by routing orders out to dealer networks, the big electronic bond platforms like MarketAxess and TradeWeb, and even directly to buy-side firms like asset managers and pension funds. But it doesn't stop there. Instead of people making manual calls and subjective decisions about who gets bonds, smart allocation algorithms take over. The AI prioritizes investors who are likely to hold the bond long-term, providing stability. It diversifies the allocation across different regions and investor types, and it specifically tries to avoid flippers, those investors who might just buy and sell immediately, which can mess up the secondary market price.
That sounds like a huge improvement in both efficiency and getting the bonds into the right hands. But I assume the process doesn't just stop once the bond is issued. Does the AI keep learning?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key part. The final step is the post-issuance analytics. After the bond starts trading in the secondary market, the AI keeps tracking its performance. It watches if the spread tightens or widens compared to similar bonds. It monitors who's buying and selling the investor turnover. And crucially, this feedback loop is vital. All that performance data gets fed back into the model's training, so it continuously learns and improves its predictions for the next time that company, or a similar one, issues bonds. It's a true learning system.
So underpinning all of this, what are the specific AI techniques that are actually making this possible? What's under the hood?
Yeah, we're talking about a mix of advanced AI techniques, each doing a specific job. You've got deep neural networks, DNNs. They're not just crunching numbers, they're finding these hidden, really complex, non-linear patterns in pricing across thousands of market signals, stuff no human could possibly connect. Then there's natural language processing, NLP. That's used to pull out sentiment, issuer-specific news, insights from research reports, maybe even social media chatter. It adds context. Reinforcement learning helps with those critical timing decisions. The model basically learns from the results of past deals to keep refining its strategy for picking the best moment. And of course, predictive analytics are fundamental for forecasting demand and figuring out the best way to allocate the bonds, making sure the right bond gets to the right investor.
Okay, this isn't just cool technology for its own sake. It clearly has real, tangible benefits for the companies issuing these bonds. What's the big payoff for them?
The single biggest impact is usually a significantly lower cost of capital. By hitting the market at precisely the right moment with the right price, issuers can shave off crucial basis points from their interest costs. And over the life of a bond, that adds up to millions in savings. For instance, take a company planning, say, a $500 million 10-year bond. The AI might recommend pricing it at plus 110 basis points over the government benchmark instead of maybe plus 125 points the old way. That difference, just 15 basis points, might sound small, but it could save them around $7.5 million in interest payments over those 10 years, just from getting a tighter spread.
$7.5 million. That really drives home the financial impact. That's huge. And beyond cost, you mentioned speed earlier, too.
Yeah, the speed is just transformative. We're talking about going from a process that could easily take 10 days, maybe longer, down to under 24 hours for the whole execution. Then there's transparency. Pricing and allocation decisions become data-driven, auditable, moving away from the kind of opaque judgment calls sometimes made by investment banks. And finally, it offers broader access. Because the routing is automated, even smaller companies, smaller issuers, can reach a much wider, more diverse pool of investors than they might have through just traditional relationship-based channels.
This is clearly a massive shift for the whole industry. So for the financial professionals, the people actually working in this space, what does this mean for their expertise? Are jobs changing? What new skills do they need?
It's definitely a profound shift. Human expertise is moving away from the manual, repetitive tasks of execution towards more strategic oversight, interpreting what the AI models are telling us, and managing the integration of these technologies. Professionals in this new AI-enabled primary issuance world need to focus on a slightly different set of critical skills. First, you still absolutely need deep capital markets domain knowledge. Understanding fixed income, pricing, spreads, how primary and secondary markets work, that's foundational. Second, data and AI literacy is becoming crucial. Not necessarily needing to code the algorithms yourself, but being able to understand and interpret the AI model outputs. questioning them, understanding the basics of how they work, and being aware of data quality issues or potential biases.
Right. So understanding what the AI is telling you, the why behind it, and maybe its limitations. What else?
Technology and system integration skills are key. You need familiarity with the systems that manage and route trades, things like order management systems or OMS, execution management systems, EMS. And understanding how different platforms connect through APIs is really important for making everything work seamlessly. Then there's regulatory and compliance awareness. That's always vital in finance. Knowing the rules around securities issuance, prospectuses, market conduct standards like MiFID II in Europe. You also need really sharp analytical and decision-making skills. Getting comfortable making fast, high-stakes decisions based on AI alerts and dealing with probabilistic information, the AI gives you probabilities, not certainties. And finally, stakeholder and investor relationship management is still critical. But now it involves engaging with everyone using data-driven stories, translating complex AI insights into language that bankers, issuers, and investors can understand and trust.
That's quite a list of skills. It sounds like maybe some existing roles are actually really well positioned for this change, though. You mentioned capital markets business analysts and product owners. Why are they such a good fit?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting for people in those roles, BAs and POs. They already live at that intersection of finance, data, and technology. That's their bread and butter. So it makes them almost ideal candidates to transition into these evolving AI-driven primary issuance roles. Think about it. They're already acting as that translation layer between the business side, maybe the trading desk, or the bankers and the tech teams building the tools. They turn business needs into tech requirements. Plus, they usually have really valuable experience in designing platforms and workflows, finding bottlenecks, figuring out how to automate processes. That's exactly what's needed to optimize AI-driven book building.
Okay, so they already understand the ecosystem and how to improve it. Makes sense.
Exactly. And many of them have already worked with the key vendors and data platforms, Bloomberg, Refinitiv, maybe MarketAxess, which are all central to bond issuance anyway. Their stakeholder management skills, absolutely essential. They're used to coordinating between bankers, legal teams, compliance, maybe even investors. They also bring that product innovation mindset. When your AI can potentially reprice a bond every hour, you need people thinking about new features, like real-time dashboards for issuers showing demand building up. And of course, their existing regulatory awareness, KYC CAMA checks, disclosure rules, that's non-negotiable.
That really does highlight how well suited they could be. Can you give us maybe a concrete example? How might someone in one of those roles actually make the transition?
Sure. Let's say you have a capital markets BA who's been working on integrating a new bond trading platform. They could pretty naturally pivot into a role like a primary issuance product analyst. In that role, they might be responsible for managing the AI pricing module within a larger corporate debt platform, working with data scientists and issuers. Or maybe a product owner who's currently managing an execution management system for equities or futures could become a primary market platform lead. They'd then oversee the whole AI-driven book building process, the investor allocation strategies, working closely with the capital markets team. The bottom line really is that the next generation of professionals in this space needs to be part bond strategist, part technologist, and part data translator. And that's a combination of skills where experienced capital markets BAs and POs often really shine.
What an incredible deep dive. We've really seen how AI is just completely reshaping the world of corporate bond issuance, making it faster, cheaper, more transparent, and fundamentally changing the nature of the human roles within the industry itself. It's quite a remarkable transformation we're witnessing.
It really is. And, if you take a step back and think about the bigger picture here, it does make you wonder, how might this shift, this move away from purely manual execution towards strategic oversight, interpreting complex models, using systems that can spot these tiny, fleeting, multi-million-dollar windows, could this serve as a kind of blueprint for other complex data-heavy industries? What does it tell us about how expertise itself is evolving in a world increasingly powered by these intelligent systems? It's definitely a fascinating thought to chew on as human AI collaboration gets deeper and deeper, not just in finance, but really everywhere.